But without further ado, it's 6 o'clock, and I would like to call the Groton Board of Education. It's January. Let me just start this over again. Take two. It's January 18th, 2022, and tonight is the Groton Public hearing for the fiscal year budget of 22-23. I am just going to sort of lay the land of what you should expect. This is an hour process. We will keep it open as long as we have comments. What you're going to hear first is a presentation that is simultaneously given by both myself and Susan, Superintendent Austin. This is actually the presentation of the superintendent's budget. For those who do or don't know, it is still the superintendent budget until the board vote on it, and we have by charter until the 28th to finalize the budget. And once we do that, it then becomes the board budget, and then that's what we move forward when we talk to the town council and the RTM. So that is sort of the lay of the land that is going to happen tonight, is that we'll hear our slide presentation. We will then open it up for people to come and to present to the board. This is what I'm going to ask that you do so that Joan Johnson and I can kind of work in tandem. If you would like to speak, if you could just put your name in the chat, then Joan would know to alert me to that. And so then I will then call on you. The request is that our conversations go no more than 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, if you have more to say, if you can wait to the end of when everyone else has given what they want to talk about, then please continue on. And I think that is all that I needed to say.
Let me know when you're ready for me to share the PowerPoint to guide us through.
How about no time like the present? That's a pretty screen.
It's a full screen.
Full screen.
Full screen ahead. Just get the show going.
Also, just for the people who are joined us in the Zoom chat, at 7 o'clock, the board will proceed marching through the budget, and we'll be doing a budget workshop after that as well. So this is our proposed budget for the 22-20, actually it's the superintendent's proposed budget for the 2022-2023 fiscal year. The current members of the Board of Education is myself, Kim Shepherdson Watson, as the chairperson, Katrina Fitzgerald, who is the vice chair. There's Andrea Ackerman, Dean Antipas, Elizabeth Porter, Matt Schulman, Rita Volkman, Beverly Washington, and Jay Whitloff. And these are our current board members. When we take a look at the budget, how we, the board kind of see the budget is that it tells a story, that we believe that our budget sort of aligns with our missions and values, and it moves us towards what our whole goals are. And some of those program elements that we just kind of wanted to highlight. And please notice I love the storyline of the pictures on the side in terms of sort of kids engaging both through, I'm assuming, oceanology, Project O, and also just in a classroom. So our goal as the board is to continue to maintain effective class sizes. We have enhanced our literacy project using the Teacher College Writer Project, which is no longer, we have come to the end of that grant, but because the way we set up the grant is to be able to then continue to support other, the grant was written so that our current staff members will continue to grow and to have other new teachers learn the process, so that this is something that is evolving at all times. We continue to support rigor and relevance in math instruction. And Susan, I also believe that that is a DODEA grant as well for math. Is that correct?
Yes, that's okay. a DODEA grant that we still have.
Right.
Along with the next one for science and STEM.
Right. And so, and both of these grants are grants that have been written by a grant writer, and it's to support our professional growth for who the board feels is our biggest tool, which is our teachers, and all staff that support our students. We support an international baccalaureate campus program at Fitch High School and Groton Middle School, where we have the middle year program and the diploma program and career program and pathways. And I believe we'll be talking more about the careers program and pathways, because that is something that we are just starting to implement. And there's some really exciting things that we are doing to do that. But if you notice, the Groton Middle School that we opened in 2021 is very centrally located next to the Fitch for the Fitch High School, so that we could do more blended work with them, and it also increases this campus feel. And so we're very excited about that. And the next one is that Grasso Tech opportunity. Superintendent Austin and Assistant Superintendent Piazza have been working really hard in conversations with the principal at Grasso Tech. I don't think they call them principals. I think it's the director of Grasso Tech, where our students could actually have 4 credit an after school program where they can increase a trade. And so we're very excited about that partnership and ways that we can then reciprocate for some Grasso Tech students. So we're in the works on that. One of the things that we did this year was that we moved all of our 5 elementary schools into magnet themes. And so this budget also supports each one of these magnet themes. We have retained all curricular and extracurricular programs. We had a phenomenal summer with some enrichments programs for our students, especially since they had been away from the classroom for so long, to have them come back and to really be together and be with teachers. We are going to continue the middle school and high school one-to-one computer initiative. We are maintaining our vocational program for our 18 to 22-year-olds, and I believe that that's out of central office. And that we also have a high quality after school childcare program, which is called the Treehouse. And we're looking for expansion into the Groton Middle School. One of the ways that we have been able to partner with the town is that we have a resource officer both at the Fitch High School and the Groton Middle School, and that is dually funded by both the town and by the Board of Ed. One of the things that I think that always comes up for when people are asking about sort of the revenues, Superintendent Austin is actually going to be talking more to this graph than I am, but we wanted to kind of just show that when we think about town revenues and think about how much the town pays for our incredible education system, it's about 61%. One of the things that I want you to kind of pay attention to is that green red wedge, which is their impact aid. And I believe Susan Austin will be talking about that a little bit later in her presentation.
So it really shows, I think the dynamics here is that this is the full cost of the proposed budget. And the full cost includes about 60%, 61.6% to be precise, from the taxpayers of Groton. And the other third, it's like 2/3, 1/3. The other third is paid from the excess cost sharing. And because we're an alliance grant, we received $25 million, and that hasn't changed over the past several years. The impact aid has been pretty steady at $4 million, and that's a big thank you to Congressman Courtney, the Senate, and the Congress, who's passed a bill because of COVID. We've been able to maintain those numbers over the years. And then there's other excess cost sharing, Medicaid. All that goes into the entire bucket that pays for education in Groton. So that tells kind of a story on how it gets paid.
Thank you, Susan. It is oftentimes at the very beginning, and this year it's going to be February 2nd. We're going to have a Board of Ed, Town Council, and the RTM Education Committee to meet together so that the Board of Ed, as we begin to get close to finalizing the budget, because we have until the 28th to do so of February, is to kind of find out from the Town Council and with the RTM what they are thinking about in terms of our budget, what are they thinking about the monies that the town has, et cetera, because obviously they know about what our town expenses are. We don't have that. And it also gives them a better sense about what's happening for us. And so we, the hope is that we are going to kind of continue to talk about that impact aid that Susan was talking about. We are also making sure that people understand that we are continuously finding grants that are appropriate for that supplement our educational professional learning for our teachers, and which only benefits our students. And that we also make sure that it is when it ends, that we don't have to then add to our own budget to do that, that we make it so it's sustainable. That's the word. I lost the word. We will talk about the DoD supplemental impact aid, which once again, and then the per pupil spending comparison to other districts. And Susan will be going through that in her part of the slides. We do have some updates about our health reserve and the work that we're doing on our OPED reserve accounts and our priorities when it comes to our CIP projects. And that we also will be talking to the Town Council and the RTM Education Committee about any concerns or questions or thought process that occur in this public hearing.
So I think the important thing too to recognize is we are tape recording this so that we'll be able to go back and I'll be able to really look at any concerns or questions people have. So whether you get up to speak tonight or whether you wanted to put something in the chat or whether you wanted to email me or reach out, please do so, because I think the more input that we have to this budget, the better we will be.
And as I said at the very beginning, we try to make sure that our budget tells the story about what our mission and our goals are. So our mission statement is very simply and very clearly teaching and learning. We have goals that provide dynamic, rigorous curriculum. We want to ensure effective and engaging instruction. And that's one of the reasons why Susan and her staff have gone out to look for those different grants to help the teachers have as many tools as possible to help our students. We embrace the excellent learning environments. And so let's talk about the fact that we have opened up 3 new schools and that our belief statement as a board is to cultivate an environment of diversity, equity, and inclusiveness, which is something that we have embraced greatly, not only as a board, but also in terms of the district. Susan.
Are you ready? Did you want to elicit any feedback, or do you want me just to continue and finish up?
I would like you to kind of finish up, and then we can open up to the public.
So one of the things I like to start with, and I learned this from my mentor, Dr. Grenier, what do we give our children in schools these days? What's the most important thing that we give them? And those are high quality teachers, paraprofessionals, the partnership that we have with the police department and security at this time. You know, we have outstanding executive secretaries and administrators and custodians, and they've all played a real critical part, especially noticed in these past 3 years as we've all kind of gone through the pandemic. So appreciate very much the people who serve our children, and can't say enough about those folks. And their salaries and benefits take up, as you see, 77.6% or over 3/4 of the pie. So this whole blue section is salaries and benefits. So that's what really makes up not only Groton's budget, but it's typical. I've been in 4 districts now, and it's very typical of every district I've ever been in, big and small, Fairfield County and Southeastern Connecticut. So that's something that's very typical. In addition to the salaries and benefits, you have tuition and contractual services in there, which is the light blue section at 3.9%. You have things like transportation and which is the green. You also have utilities, telephone, networking, software, all those things that help us to communicate. And then you have also non-contractual expenses as well. So that in its entirety makes up the budget, the whole pie of pieces and parts that go into the school budget, our school budget and most school budgets. So in Groton Public Schools budget, we really started working on this, I would say early in the fall, to really looking at it. As soon as we got the October 1 numbers, we wanted to know really our enrollment, and we wanted to know our staffing and what we were spending this year to kind of compare it to last year's budget, and then also forecast what we would need next year. So the work began early on in the fall. When we actually put down the people and the salaries, we realized that in the 100s, and every school budget is made of these categories, object codes 100 through 800. 100 are all of our salaries, and that's for everybody. And as we go through this with the Board of Ed, we're going to do the deep dive into the salaries, administratively, teacher, paraprofessional, and others. We also, what's contributing to this is also trying to meet the wage increases, trying to meet the minimum wage requirements that are before us. And also, we've had a lot of staffing shortage with people, whether they were union paras or whether they were people who were non-certified, weren't in a union. So it was really difficult. It was a challenge. I know all of you sitting on this Zoom and probably at home know that we also had a great deal of effort put in from STA to get more bus drivers and bus aides. We support the bus aides. They are employed by Groton Public Schools, but the bus drivers are employed by STA. So it was really a challenge. It's a challenge in our state. It's a challenge nationally. So we did some proactive work in working with the para union and also working with the other parties and doing some research. I give a lot of tribute to Ken Knight, who is our business manager, and also Lori Lapine, our HR director, as they went through and did a lot of research, what was happening in other communities, looking at what some of the wages were around us and what could be competitive for Groton. And so with that and some negotiations with the para union, we were able to start that effort, and we preempted it to January, February, so that starting now, we're able to give those added increases to those folks so that it will hopefully help us with the number of substitutes we have, the number of paras, and we can really make sure that we are have those positions filled. In the meantime, it's been all hands on deck, and we've been working together to get substitutes to fill in where there are gaps, and tutors. So that's basically the 100s and 200s, and that tells a big part of our story. When you see 3.25% increase in salaries and 5.32, the majority of our 3.04% increase in this year's budget is related to that. Also with purchase services, which is our 300s, there was a slight decrease in that because we used to have an athletic trainer that we hired from the outside, and now having a campus of middle school and high school, we've added in the athletic trainer in salary. So that salary is seen in the increase of salaries. Another feature that might be shown in the increase of salary is also an assistant principal for the two large schools. When we reduced, and we really were able to find cost efficiencies for this year, but they're not sustainable. And when we took the 4 administrators from the 3 buildings and we're able to put them into Thames River And Mystic River, we found that instead of having 1.5 assistant principals in each of the schools, we really needed 2 full-time in each of the schools because of this sheer number, the larger number of students, because of the specialized programs in special education, and because it houses all of our early childhood. So it houses our preschools, it houses our pre-K, both schools, and TK. So it's something that we're really looking to improve for next year. In the 400s, there's a lower experience and more in-house services with some of the purchased equipment that we have. We're actually doing it ourselves, so to speak, and saving some money doing it. In the 500s, which you can see is transportation, insurance, tuitions. That is mostly, the increase is mostly noted because the bus transportation company has a contract with us, and the contract shows that we're going to have to increase it this next year. The 600s are all about supplies, and we did allow for a 2% increase in our site budgets. So each of the principals works with their team in administration and their teacher teams to create a budget for the next year, and we have allowed for 2%. And you can see that the increase is nominal at a 0.39% increase. The 700s reflection of equipment for the schools, and there were some equipment needs around technology, some instrument tech needs in the schools, because we really do host a wonderful music program, and we start with musical instruments in the elementary school early on. So that's something that is really a priority to this board. And then the 800s, when we negotiated the teacher contract with the GEA this past summer, we did agree to having the speech pathologist license covered per their teacher contract. We do this for the school psychologists. It's almost like a medical license. So we wanted to be able to do that, or we negotiated to do that for them. So all in all, we have a $79,793,098 proposed budget for FY23. It's an increase of $2,355,008 at a 3.04% increase. I wanted to share with you the budget history. I even saw some chatter after the Day wrote a news article about our budget and what it hoped to accomplish. And there were some people saying, how can it be that we've had these 0% and, we're still up to this amount of money. But if you take a look at our history starting back in 2011, 12, we did come in with a 0% that year and the following year. But if you notice, 2014, 15, and 16 were increases. They were increases due to the health savings or the health account, the savings account, and also due to some special ed cost. So you see a 1.4 increase, a 1.95, and a 2.17. The following year in 16, 17, we went below that. And then the year after that, zero, nearly zero. And then it jumps back up to 1.24. So just looking in the trend of data, it looks like it's not sustainable to always have a 0% over 10 years. You just couldn't possibly do it. And it looks like that it goes a year or two at zero or as lean as we can, and then it bounces back up because of the needs and maybe the inflation. So it would be interesting to look at inflation over that time period of time as well. And then we also like to look at what we are paying per pupil. And so these come from the Connecticut State Department of Education, these numbers, going back again to 2011. And you can see that we're kind of neck and neck with the state average. We're actually a little above the state by $231.21. Again, the following year, 12 to 13, we're above the state by 104. But then 2013 all the way down to currently, we've been below the state average. So we went below nearly $500 a couple years, over $700 the next few years, up to over $1,000 in the past several years. So the variance of comparing ourselves to the state average, I could say that it has to do a lot with efficiencies. And one of the things that we talked about is of the board is that we've had these supplemental grants. We've had the Department of Defense Education Activity Grants. We've had 6 of them. We just got a new one for STEM careers. And those are competitive grants. Those are ones that, you know, my admin team and I come up with these ideas. We work with Shannon and we write these grants, and we have to, you know, continue to pay attention to the grants and analyze data. It's a lot of work, but it certainly has afforded us that between the DODIAs and the MSAP, $10 million in the past 8 years that go to highly qualified professional learning and, you know, the best programs, the best supplies, the best equipment our kids could have. So I'm very grateful for that. And that could be part of the reason that we're seeing that the expenditures per pupil have actually decreased. That and between the ESSERs, the ARP ESSERs, you'll also notice that that is a total of about 10 million that we've received in the past several years. So when we look at, our board always likes to compare us to our local districts and also our DIRG communities that are districts similar to Groton. And when we look at our locals from Old Saybrook, you know, to Ledyard, you can see that the only district that we have more cost per pupil is Ledyard. And everyone else, we're a little below, and we're definitely below the state average, as I had said. And then our DIRG reference group is G. I always remember G for Groton. And if you noticed also, many of those districts in our DIRG, which has the district reference group, has a lot to do with the socioeconomics, the size, the, you know, the makeup of the community. And I would say that here you see that we are certainly not the lowest. We're kind of in there though with the half that's probably, I'll call it most efficient. So, you know, Bristol's below us, but Manchester is a little higher. So you can kind of see the shape of the data tells the story. And I had mentioned these different grants that we received. These are supplemental to the operation grant. I mean, the operation funds. So these are additional grants. They're to supplement education. They're not to supplant or take away from operations. So we have categorical grants. Those are grants that come to us with our submission, but we have allocated funds. And we have to apply still for them, and we have to write up the narrative and decide how to spend the money specifically. So everything from federal education grants, ESEA, the Carl Parkins is our vocational education and careers, school readiness, early childhood, that is a $532,000 grant, but that comes through us to our preschools in our community. So whether it's Riverfront or TVCCA, Children First Groton help us prepare that. And so that's kind of a pass-through grant. And then there's IDEA for special education, bilingual education, because our schools have been named as bilingual with the percentage of Spanish-speaking children in our schools. We also have Department of Defense Supplemental Impact Grant, which is different than the impact aid that goes to the town. This one comes to the school, and it comes to the school in about the amount of $250,000 to $300,000 per year. And we've been using that since 2014 when Dr. Grenier came here as superintendent and I was his assistant. And we've used that really to supplement our technology. And that came in loud and clear as kind of a gift that we've done for ourselves and taken care of when we had to go full remote learning back in 2020. And we were prepared because we had this grant. And then, of course, being an Alliance district, annually, it's about $200,000, which doesn't seem like a whole lot of money, but it has been a contributor. It's been more in the past, but I think the biggest service that the Alliance gives us is really a partnership with some of the leaders at the State Department of Education, professional learning that's free of charge that we attend on a regular basis, looking at data and examining the data and getting help at the state level with that. And I would say also making sure that we have our $25 million that goes directly to the town, and that has been sustained over the years. Competitive grants, as I had mentioned, was the MSAP grant that created our STEAM, Groton Middle School STEAM. It's first started at West Side as a STEM, and then at Cutler as an arts and humanity. And I would say that our Groton Middle School is really doing a wonderful job for our kids, providing STEAM MYP programming. And then, of course, we've had a math grant, a STEM grant, health STEM careers pathway grant, and then a Century Community Learning Grant that has helped us to grow our treehouse program for older children in the middle school so that they get extra help with homework and they get to do great projects and community projects, and hopefully they'll be interested in even helping with treehouse summer programming. So it really kind of trains them in a sense to help out with younger children. And then our coronavirus grants, added up to a lot of help and support with the Careers Act, the American Rescue Plan, the ESSER 3. There were additional ESSER grants for special education that we were able to take advantage of, and one specifically for homeless children and youth, which I think was so important. So just ending the way Kim ended, this is shared mission, vision, and goals for the Board of Ed and our school community. And just some great pictures. Thank you to Mark Russell for his making sure he captures those moments in our schools.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you. Kind of like it gets, I enjoy that process because we work so hard on so many things, and this kind of shows why and how we do. So thank you very much for doing that. I noticed that in the chat, we have Joanna Priest. I see you. So I see you. Hello. And you are more than welcome to start us off on our public portion of our public hearing. Joanna, if you could just do me a favor and just announce who you are and also your address, that would be really great for the record.
Sure. It's can you hear me okay?
I can, absolutely. Thank you.
All right. I'm Joanna Priest. I live at 39 Hunting Ridge Drive. And I've been a parent at Northeast Academy. My two daughters go there. One's in 2nd grade and one is in 4th grade. We've had such a wonderful experience, especially through all of this chaos. So I just want to thank everybody for all of their hard work during all of this craziness. I have been a longtime teacher. I taught in Ledyard, and then this year I switched and I'm helping out in Norwich Public Schools. So I just want to, I'm mentioning that because one of the things I've learned over the course of my career is how important social emotional well-being is. My daughter also suffers from ADHD and anxiety. And I've seen how much it helps for the teacher to have those skills to be able to utilize the positive reinforcement and the social worker, school psychologist being able to offer services in those ways as well. I think the pandemic has only compounded all of the mental health crises that we see across the state. I'm assuming, I haven't heard much from Northeast Academy, but I know that I still talk with my colleagues in Ledyard. and they're seeing the same thing that I'm seeing in Norwich, which is just a lack of social skills, a regression in the foundational skills of, becoming a good citizen and all the social emotional well-being skills that we have been looking at. So I watched the presentation and love all the work and all of the STEM grants and everything that's going on. I wouldn't change anything. I think teachers don't get paid enough. They obviously have done so much, but I'd love to see some concerted effort in the social emotional field, whether it's extra social workers or BCBAs, or I don't know what that might look like in Groton, what the needs are. I think the teachers would be able to speak more to that than I could, but it would be great to see that kind of programming in our schools, and a way to bring families into that loop as well, so that families could also be educated in how they can help with that social upbringing. And one last thing, I don't have anything prepared, so sorry, I'm going off the top of my head on this, but the new school where Cutler Middle School used to be, it's the environmental science magnet school, I think. We've been to that playground, and I just want to say thank you, because that was amazing. I think all the kids from Northeast have gone there as well to play after school or on the weekends, because they think it's an amazing playground, and we would love to see some of that stuff come to other playgrounds as well, because they love the zip lines and the different creative structures that are there. The kids just go wild over it. So that was a great
good
job.
to hear. Good to hear.
Great job.
Thank you, Joanna. I
You're
appreciate that.
welcome. You're welcome.
I believe that Ellen Safransky, you stated that you would like to speak to us, and that's great. Ellen, once again, could you please just state your name and also your address for the record? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ellen Safransky, and my address is 19 Ocean View Avenue. First of all, what Joanna said, I would just like to back everything she said. My kids love the playground at Mystic Magnet. And I did want to mention that, well, let me tell you a little bit about myself, and then I'll mention something about the social emotional piece. I have 6 kids, and 3 of them have graduated from Fitch and gone all through Groton Public Schools. The 4th one is a senior at Fitch. And then I have 2 children that one's in the middle school and one's at Mystic River, and they both have Down syndrome. So when I was looking at the budget today, I reviewed last week's meeting, I realized how much I use, or I'm like a user of all these budget things. So I would like to, I guess I'll start with the Treehouse program. That has been a wonderful, wonderful thing. My boys attended the one at the elementary school level, and because they have Down syndrome, they got to be, that's inclusion. And I mean, and they can hang with the other kids, and they learn from the other kids, and they just have a great time. So then David, my older son, he is now in the middle school, and that is one of the grants. I wrote it down. I guess it's Nina. It's one of the community grants that does that program. And today, I just chaperoned them ice skating at Washington Ice Rink. And I mean, my heart was just on fire, because those middle school kids, I don't think they would be skating. I think they would be home looking at their phones. Their parents are working. Here they are skating. I didn't see a phone. I saw a lot of laughing. I saw a lot of falling, because I know they haven't been ice skating before. It was wonderful. And David did really well. So that's a really good thing. And I think it shows, I often think, well, when I was in middle school, I would just walk out the door and go down to the pond. But those days are over, and we have to adapt to that. And I think the Treehouse program gives those opportunities that we all remember as kids. So those are 2 good things. The other thing is the athletic trainer, hiring an athletic trainer. Last spring, I was at a lacrosse game. It's a girls' lacrosse game, and they don't have helmets or pads. The boys are pretty rough. The girls don't have that protection, so they have a lot of things they can't hit with the sticks, but it's pretty rough. I looked for the athletic trainer because I wanted my daughter to get something taped, and she's like, there's no one. I was like, what do you mean? I mean, we hear about the safety all the time from our athletic director and concussions. We don't have anybody on the sidelines, no one. We have a visiting team. I mean, what would happen if a girl from another town suffered a severe injury and we don't have anyone? So I called the athletic director at the time, and he told me they can't get anyone because they're contracting and they can't find it. So they're instructed to call an ambulance. I don't think that's so hot. So I was very happy to see that. Okay, so now we're going to get into the part that I'm not.
You know that you have about a minute.
Oh shoot. Okay. Okay. So the part is the paraprofessionals. I know that we're suffering with the lack of paraprofessionals, and I'll tell you something that just happened today. My son had an incident report, and I got a call from the teacher. So it's evident there's not enough pairs in his classroom. He's supposed to have a one-on-one. I don't think we are following the IEPs, and I think that's a legal issue. I think that one of the big budget items I noticed was outplacing students. I think we could probably pare that down if we staffed our buildings with good, appropriate support staff for our teachers. And I'll just say, I'm losing my train of thought. I think we need to pay them even more than minimum to get the quality people in there. I think we need to know what other towns are doing so we can hire those people. For safety reasons, for educational reasons, it's just not right to not have fully staffed buildings. And I know Mystic Marine isn't fully staffed, and I know the Groton Middle School isn't very staffed, and it shows because as a parent who looks through a backpack, I know that no one's helping him. I know, and when I can't contact anybody, it's a problem. So that's my biggest issue with the budget is we've got to pay those paraprofessionals and get them hired. And that's it. And thank you all for your service to our town. I'm really appreciative of all the time you people put in. Thank you.
Ellen, thank you. Thank you. I believe Fenty Lee, you are next. And once again, just restate your name and then also your address. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Fenty Lee. My address is 160 Gales Ferry Road in Groton. Okay. All right. So and thank you everyone to, to be able to just like opening up this for us to be able to speak up. And I really like, second, like Joanna and also Alan, that we're thankful we've been here in Groton. Actually, we love Groton because of the schools. We've been here for 17 years now. So now my kids been through to Knowing School, Northeast Academy, and then just like go to now like one is already graduated like 3 years ago, and then one is senior right now. So we've been through that. The thing is just like what made us like really open, what made me open my eyes, like it's just lately the last 2 years. We just like I never really thought about it before because it's just like my kids just like acting normal, everything. Now my kids just like they're like more onto the arts and the music kids, so they're just kind of like so they were so like I look at their just like really drop down from like all like A students to just like fail. Okay, so we're thankful that the counselor actually like reached out to us. But what I realized at the time, like I look into like the mental health, like it's just not like I didn't think that we were supported, like it's nothing really from the school like on that. It's just like the counselor, yes, like she was kind of like reach out to us. It's like, okay, just like what can we do to upgrade just like his grades, like things like that. But it's nothing really from psychologists, like no psychologists, like, like, yeah, I can call for like a counseling or something else, but it's nothing really from the school. That's when earlier Kim was going through the program elements. There's nothing really that, like from there, just like kind of like more like specific into the mental health, or just like social, like what Joanna mentioned it earlier, just kind of like for the older kids, like maybe just like for the younger ones, like you have the playground, but the older ones, I don't think they want to go to playground, you know what I mean? So it's just like, and another thing is like when you mentioned about the technologies, like when we went through these 2 years, we don't know, like anytime this can happen again and we have to go, remotely. So how are we prepared for this art and the music? It's like, I know it's like from the teachers, it's like, the directors, oh, it's so hard to put together the music, things like that, because like, the sounds like late coming in, things like that. How are we prepared for the next one? Hopefully, knock on the wood, just no ever, but the technology for the music, how do we do that? How do we dramas, like how do we kids the one that really like interest in that, or just like, like drawing, whatever the kids is like. So when we talk about the diversity, equality, and inclusiveness, we also have to think about not all kids is really good in math. I mean, my kids, yes, like they were good in maths, everything, like until, pandemic started. And it was just like, because like they're also supported by the interest in the marching band, like drawing, like all those like, dramas, things like that. But when it happened, just like they're all gone, like, out the window. So, so again, like I'm grateful for everyone's like doing at the Groton Public School, because again, like we stay here because we love this school, the school system, and anything that we can help. Like, and I also work for my background, I work for Safe Future. So we in the past, like we did like the education for just like, domestic violence, sexual assault, and then also like trafficking. I know this past couple of years before even the pandemic, it stopped. And yes, it's probably a purchase services that before, Susan, like what you mentioned, but maybe it's just like, Safe Future itself, if the school like reach out to us, we'll be able to provide it. We can like write grants or something like that on our part, to help the school, because like we've been back even with the pandemic to Stonington, to New London School, like and other school, I think like also like Norwich. So we could just like, instead of like, I understand like the gym teacher may be able to teach that in school, but again, some stuff that the children, the kids not gonna want to open up, because like it's how, yeah, they probably can trust the teacher, but again, like it's very different. It's like maybe sexual assault or something, or just domestic violence that happened in the house, and they're not feeling comfortable. So maybe have the expert doing it in, without like, putting in the budget. So I think that's it. Yeah, the technology is like, we really, need help with that. For the kids, like the one is, like different talents. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And you actually went to like the 5 minutes. I was about ready to say something, and you were like, oh, okay, I'm done. Like, so thank you very much. And thank you for your thoughtful comments. And we'll make sure that we'll follow up on the comments that are, that have been written down by Ellen. And we'll take a look at Safe Futures, I'm assured. At this point, that was the people who put their names in the chat. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to the board about the budget? And if you do the raise hand, you're gonna have to like help me out, folks, because I have a lot of screens in front of me, so it's really hard.
Kim, I went through, I don't see, if anybody wanted to raise their hand, you could put up the reaction sign for the hand raise. I just went
Yep.
through it. I didn't see anybody though.
Yep, same here. Same here. Ellen, did you just, are you wishing to speak again? So your question is, how much does the
Yeah.
IB program cost for the
Yeah.
town?
Yeah, I looked at that. Is that a budget item, or I saw there's some partial grant money for it, but what's a figure on that? And, I'd really be interested in how many children that serves and what the outcomes are on that compared to the cost.
So even though this is Zoom and so that the relationship stuff is a little bit different, this is just us hearing information
Oh,
from
okay.
from the public about concerns.
Mhm.
But I think what I loved about what Superintendent Austin did this time is that IB is not just an IB diploma program. And I think for so long, people in Groton were really kind of thinking about it that way. But that actually, when you saw the grant, the IB careers, there's just multiple ways of thinking about what IB is, and that IB is actually not necessarily a curriculum, it's a thought process. It's how we teach our kids, it's tools around that, and that it's kind of I don't know why I'm using the word infiltrated, but like that's what came to my mind. So Ellen, that's what you get. It's infiltrated in multiple parts of our budget. So it's not like a budget line where we cover all the costs, because some of our teachers who work in the IB or teach some IB programming are also teachers that teach other courses. And so you can't necessarily kind of sift us out. But thank you for your thoughtful comment about that.
And in the budget workshop, we'll be going through those things. So, I can also send you a little note when we go to discuss it and kind of share in the budget book where to find that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then one more thing, I saw that you dropped an English language learner position. I've also had experience with that because one of my sons only spoke Armenian when he came to live with us. And so he was, I don't know what you call it. He was offered that because I guess it has to be offered to someone who doesn't speak English. So I took him up on it, and I really don't know what he did. And I never had any contact with that department. They didn't come to the IEP meetings. So then I think one of the administrators at the middle school said that Groton doesn't have a full-fledged English language learner program. So
I'm sorry you heard that, because that's not true. We do have 3 certified teachers who are bilingual and TESOL trained, and we have multiple tutors at every building. So I feel like we could use more, and I don't know where it would have ever been dropped in the budget. I know that we have a bilingual grant and also a Title III grant, which is specific for EL. And of course, in our operating budget, we do also have an area for that.
Okay, I'll look for it. I thought I saw
Yeah.
you lost a position. Didn't you drop?
Unless it got switched over to the Title III
Right.
grant. Otherwise, it would be in operations.
So I'm gonna stop the conversation, because once again, this is a public hearing. I'm just as guilty, because I clarified some things for you. So I apologize about that. I do not see any hands raised, and I don't see anything else in the chat. So Ms. Joan, at 6:53, I am closing the Groton Public Schools Board of Education public hearing. And for Board of Ed members, and also anyone who would like to stay with us, at 7 o'clock starts our budget workshop. So let's reconvene at that point. It looks like we have 8 people. So I am going to, it's 7:01, and I am going to be calling to order a Groton Board of Education special meeting, and it's January 18th. And once again, it's 7:01. The first item that is on our agenda is, and I don't see Sam here. But Susan, you have all the information, is that correct?
Ken Knight is here.
Oh, Ken Knight is here. But our first item before we go into the actual budget is the discussion and possible action of the acceptance of the Fitch High School asbestos project as complete. And can we just have some more information about that before, and excuse me, can I have someone make a motion?
Kim,
So
do we
moved.
have to call the meeting to order first?
I did.
Oh, I didn't hear you. Okay, I'll make a motion
All right. And so is the,
to accept the Fitch High School asbestos project as complete.
can I have,
Second.
I have Liz as a second. And can I have discussion, please?
Remind me, where was this work performed? In Fitch?
It was in the older wing. And so that was all done. It took really all of the summer. But it was completed. And it was mostly the tile flooring in the older section.
Where in the older section?
So right behind culinary and the business wing and that area in there. I think also one of the gyms as well.
The small.
The gyms have tiles?
I thought it was one of the gym areas. I don't know if it was one of the offices.
All
They
right.
couldn't use that area at least this summer. And none of the students could be in there. I'm
And
looking
why?
for Sam, but I don't see Sam.
I'm sort
No,
of curious. Yeah, if you don't mind, I was sort of curious because Fitch High School, we've gone over it years ago. Why wasn't this identified back then? I'm not saying you would know because it was before your time, I think, but how come this is one of these leftover things?
I think asbestos is throughout most old buildings or old sections. And
Right.
it's fine as long as those tiles are glued down. But if you have any chips or cracks or anything, you really have to be right on top of it.
Okay, so
so
in other words,
for a
it was
while it
identified back
worked.
then.
Yeah, but then it started to come up and we needed to take care of it.
All
Sam,
right.
so I see that Sam has joined us. Sam? Maybe it's not Sam. Maybe it's someone else.
No, it's me. But I'm having my dessert, so I turned my camera off.
Excuses.
Well, it's kind of rude to be chewing while you're on the Zoom, but I missed the question because I just got back on.
So it's in the discussion of the asbestos removal.
Where was
To
it?
accept the Fitch High School project for asbestos.
Okay,
So we're at the discussion phase, Sam. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Oh. Well, the project was to remove the asbestos containing floor tiles and other floor products throughout the building in the areas that were in teaching spaces or spaces where students and staff might be. There is still, because when they did the library and the auditorium over, there is still suspected material under those, but those have been done so recently that it was determined that we shouldn't do those right away. But when the next project comes up, they would be done then because they are encapsulated by the carpeting that is in those spaces. But this, it only includes, this project only included floor tile, trim around the floors, those sorts of things. There could still be some asbestos inside of walls, plumbing inside of walls in places that inside parts of the older part of the building. But anything that was exposed to students and staff has been taken care of.
Question, will we need special floor care equipment for these new tiles, or can we use the stuff that we've already got for the high schools?
No, the tiles that we did vinyl tiles at the high school, so
Okay.
not the tiles that we did at the other schools, so.
All right, I just occurred to me that we have different flooring in other schools, so didn't know what. Thanks.
Welcome.
Sam, is this work going to be throughout the high school or in certain areas of the high school?
It was pretty much throughout the entire high school with the exception of the auditorium and the library. And of course, the new wing had, it wasn't included in the new wing. But by accepting it as complete, it will allow me to submit the request to the state for the reimbursement, which is about 50% back to the town. So the town paid 100% of the project, which fortunately came in under bid, but so they paid the 100% of the invoices up to this point, and this will allow us to get our 50% back to the town.
Sam, what is the cost of the project?
I think it was $518,000 was the bid.
Any other
Thank
questions?
you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Kim, actually, I have one last one, if you don't mind.
Please, Dean.
We remove things when under containing asbestos under various conditions, they're friable, or we do it prophylactically, we just remove the tiles in case, etc. Is there anything out there that allows for example, a school district to measure, actually detect asbestos in the air? I mean, I
Yes,
know it doesn't take much to cause a problem, but I'm wondering if we have anything that is sensitive enough to detect something that would actually present a danger to the
yeah,
student.
and
and the staff.
Mystic Air Quality is the company that we deal with on a continuing basis, but you would have to have a suspected situation where they would set up their monitors to test the air. So, for instance, in part of Fitch High School in the business wing, there were tiles that had cracked over the years. So if those had started to crumble or become friable, as you stated, friable means that it's in that state, crumbly state, easily broken apart, and that's when it gets airborne. It can become airborne. So if there were some situation like that where there were some tiles that are broken up in a classroom, we would have Mystic Air come in and they would set up their equipment and measure the amount of asbestos that might be in the air.
I see, but not ahead of time, not as a just in case, or just
No.
like an annual check or something like that.
That's right. No, you'd have, I would say you'd probably have to have a suspected situation in order to set that up. You wouldn't have it on a continuing basis.
Thanks.
Beverly?
Sam, will this complete the removal of asbestos in the school, at the high school, or is this part of a bigger project?
It took care of the bulk of the work. There is still some old tile under the auditorium carpet and the library carpeting. That when they did those projects, they encapsulated it so that it's under there, which is legal and does not allow for the asbestos to become airborne. So those would be, if we decided to redo the library and or the auditorium at some point, then those would be done at that time. And the only other place that I would suspect that there would be asbestos in the high school would be in maybe in a wall. Lots of plumbing fittings have asbestos insulation on them. So that might be inside of a concrete block wall or a cement wall. And if we did a project where you were taking them down or moving them, we may find something like that at that time, but it certainly isn't much. They did the tunnels throughout the high school quite a few years ago when West Greenleaf was still here. So that was, the tunnels were done some time ago.
Beverly, I appreciate, Bev, I really appreciate your question, because it does, for those of us who have been on for a while, we kind of understand or know about that. So appreciate that you could clarify that this is a completion of a multiple step project and that we are at that end.
Yeah, one thing that I would never say is that it's an asbestos-free building, because it could still be behind, hidden behind walls or some other place, but there is nothing that we've seen that we haven't removed.
Thank you. Any further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor to accept the Fitch High School asbestos project as complete, please say aye.
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 Aye. Those oppose? Abstain? That motion has carried. All right, Mr. Ken Knight.
Hello.
So our focus tonight is going to be on secondary, some enrichment, remedial services, remedial instruction, and summer school and library media. So that's what we're going to hopefully tackle tonight.
Yeah,
Yay.
a lot of pages. The way I will do this is I will show the 2 pages, the top page that includes the FTEs and a small description. The second page that goes over some of the costs, and then I'll bring it back to this screen so that we can all see each other, and then you can have discussion at that time. So we're going to start. Go ahead.
Excuse me. Are we starting on 3-1?
5-6.
5-6.
Yeah, 5-6.
So my question is, I wanted to look at the enrollment at the high school and start with that before we went, because I had a question whether there are some typos here in terms of graduating classes on 3-1. Did you discuss this last week?
We did not.
Oh, we will definitely put enrollment on a future budget meeting when we have all the accurate numbers for you.
Well, I mean, you have numbers in this book on page 3-1 for the high school and the middle school. My question is, what we don't have, like we have for the elementary schools, we don't have the breakdown of the classes and how many teams there are in the middle school, and then in the high school, how many sections of English, how many sections of math, how many students are in each class, you know, the FTEs. So we're missing some pages, I feel, in this book. And also, I don't understand that in next year, in 2023, graduating from Fitch High School would only be 206 students. I just want to know, is that a typo? I mean, you know, we're going over a budget, which is really quite costly, and yet the numbers are going down. And I want to know, before I can look at the FTEs, I just would love to see how many classes in each subject we are. What are we talking about? What are the numbers? And is it really going down to only 206 students graduating in 2023 from Fitch High School? And there's just seems to be, and also you have here a summary of out of district, how many kids have left, how many kids have gone out of district, but you don't have the total number of students who are out of district. You know, you're just showing in parentheses how many are no longer out of district, but how many are out of district? It seems incomplete to me, these pages here on enrollment. It does do a great job for elementary, but not middle and high school. So I just had some questions on that. And before I would get into the nitty gritty, I would like to understand how many students, how many are in each of the classes at the middle and the high school? What are the breakdown? We haven't received that all year. So
We actually received that last year in the spring. We reviewed
well,
that.
that was last year, but
Right.
I'm talking about for this year, this budget, we need to
So
see
if
it.
you could send me your questions specifically so that we can get back to you, Rita. And
I don't want it to get back to me. We need some more pages developed so that as a board, we understand how many teams there are in the middle school, what is the breakdown of enrollment for the classes in the middle school, just to have, and you know, you have the FTEs for the elementary, but here you have on this 3-4, you have 6th grade expected enrollment 315, but you don't have any FTEs or anything like you do for the elementary schools. It's really well spelled out for elementary, but not for middle and high school. So those are my questions. I feel we need more information in order to go.
We can certainly provide more information. But I think we're going to have to go through, you're going to see the FTEs, you're going to see the number of teachers for each discipline at both the middle school and the high school. And our numbers, we actually, I don't recall 206, but I know that in the middle school, we have class sizes of between 3 and 350 for each class, 6, 7, and 8. And there are a few that are higher in the middle school than others, or in the high school than others.
I'm just
Some
looking
classes.
on page 3-1, projected enrollment, FY '23, grade 12, 206 students graduating from Fitch.
So I will confirm that for you.
Yeah, we'll look at that.
I have to look
Down
at
from
the,
273 this year. So to me, it's a big, I just don't know if these numbers are really accurate. And how did you come up with 206 in a class, a senior class? That would be the lowest I've ever heard at the high school.
well, it would have to be based on who is sitting in the seat October 1. And those numbers haven't even been confirmed by the state yet. So that's a process in and of itself.
We'll confirm those numbers. We did do a projection using, as Susan said, the October 1st numbers. We'll take a look at that. I'll just say that on October 1st, the grade 11 class is 215.
Right.
So it doesn't sound like a far cry to get to 206 for next year's senior class, but we'll take a look at that and make sure that these numbers make sense. And there is an out-of-district number of 370 students on 3-1.
370, though, yeah, and you're projecting the same for next year.
Yep.
I'm going to go to Beverly, and then I'm going to go to Matt.
Superintendent Austin, would it be possible for you to get what Rita's requesting for the next meeting or at the end of the week in the board notes?
I could certainly do that.
Thank you.
Matthew?
Hands down. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, and maybe we can even try to put that in a conversation in our budget talks. Kind of take a look at the teaming for both middle school and the high school. So it might make our next meeting kind of jam-packed, but maybe we could try to kind of get to that. Okay, Ken.
Should I go on with secondary instruction? So we'll start at page 5-6. So the way the book is broken down is the first page has our FTEs for that function, and then there's a description, and then it's followed by the cost breakdown. So let me share my screen. Of course, I can never find them when I want. There it is. Okay. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, good. So this shows function 1102, which is art. It's for grades 6 through 12. There are 2 teachers at the middle school and 4 at the high school. There is a small description, no change in FTEs year over year. And here are the expenses, small increases in salaries and wages, an increase in employee benefits, an increase in the arts and craft supplies. So all of the supplies and equipment, these are submitted by principals through their site budgets. So this would be the high school and the middle school's submission for arts and craft supplies. There's an increase, but then there's also a decrease in equipment supplies. So overall, a 2.1% increase for the art function.
A question, Kim?
Yes, Matt.
This more a process question. I'm admit to not seeing anything on the sheet indicating that it's for arts and crafts. I'm sure I'm missing it. It's not a complaint. Just could you?
Sure. On 5-7, and it's towards the end of the schedule. It's count number 603, arts and craft supplies.
So there's not, I'm just thinking about looking forward. There's nothing at the head of these charts which will indicate what's below. I generally have the habit of looking at the top to see what a label that's going to tell me what I'm going to be looking at below. But if it's below, I'll just adjust.
So Matt, with the orientation of the numbers for the object codes, 100s being salary, 200s being benefits, 400, would be the repair of the equipment. That's how the object codes go. So anything
I'll speak with Kim after the meeting to get a clear idea. I'm not getting it, but I don't want to use up our time.
At the top of the chart, where it says function 1102, the title is art 6 through 12.
Thank you very, very much.
Oh, that's what you were looking for.
That's what I was
Shaded
looking
dark.
for. Thank you so much.
Yeah, some of these copies are very shaded, very heavily shaded.
Dean, were you trying to give clarification for Matt?
That's exactly it. Just say, look at the top. It's very heavily shaded. If you're not used to the contrast, then you'll miss it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
We can adjust that in the.
Beverly, do you have your hand up again?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I would appreciate if you could adjust that too, because I had a hard time
Okay.
trying to read in the shaded area. But my
Okay.
question is, for field trips, what type of field trips do they go on? I know it's not much, but I was just curious.
I
I'd have to
know we
get-
have a partnership with the Mystic Museum of Art. And there might be other, I could find out specifically, but other art museums, that kind of thing.
And Susan, these are driven by the site budgets.
They're driven all by the site budget,
So the principals put in their requests.
right?
They program the individual field trips, and then it flows to this function from each of those individual site budgets.
Right, and the department chairs and the teachers actually help construct the budget and share with the administrators what their needs are for the next year.
Dean and then Bev.
This goes right to what Rita was saying before, which is you look at a budget like this and you naturally the question arises, how many kids? Or do I make the presumption, for example, that with arts 6 through 12, I would add up the enrollment in 6 through 12 and say all those kids run through this program? Is it evenly weighted, et cetera? And this was a question that Rita had asked last year as well. She was looking for enrollment breakdowns at the secondary level. So it's a comment more than a question.
Thank you.
Kim, I
Yeah.
believe, you understand the six through 8 because there's 2 art teachers and everybody has, a section of art somewhere along the line every year. I believe in the middle school, at least they did at
No.
one time.
No, that we
don't
would need
anymore?
more, we'd need more FTEs for that.
Oh, they used to have a 6-week, like everybody did it. So now they're not doing that anymore.
Each middle school in the past either had 6 and 7 or 7 and 8 taken care of. They didn't have every grade. So
Well,
when we
every
put
grade.
the 2 schools together, we made sure 6th grade had a rotation like you speak of. And then it would be kind of an enrichment selected by kids in both 7th grade and 8th grade.
Okay, and I understand then there are 4 art teachers at the high school, but not everybody takes art. It's selective. So then again, you would like to know, I think we have a limit of how many students can be in an art class, at least for jewelry making and
Right,
some of the
right.
other programs. So you know, but it would be wonderful to know the breakdown of how many people are really taking electives in arts. You know, that was always one thing. We never had enough electives at the high school. And we've added art teachers over the years because, you know, for electives. But then again, if our enrollment's going down, how is this all balanced out? That's it.
Any other hands up? I see. Are we able to move on past art, Kim?
Yep.
Okay. I will share again here. All right, now we're on to page 5-8. This is function 1104, language arts, grades 6 through 12. This shows that we have 8 middle school teachers and 15.5 at the high school. There is a comment here that we added a 1.0 FTE. It should be identified that this is funded by the ESSER 2 and the ARP ESSER grants. So I will make that modification to this schedule. So that's why you don't see an increase here, because these full-time equivalents are only those that are being funded by this budget. And on page 5-9, the costs, there is increase in salaries and wages, a decrease in employee benefits, overall a decrease in supplies, looks like a decrease in text and workbooks, but an increase in computer software. Yeah, so overall an increase of $57,813 or 2.5%.
And I think we did invest in the SORA program that aligns with the one card, one book so that we can get more digital text. We did that during remote learning and we're continuing to do that, work on that initiative. So one of the things you might notice is that for ELA, which is one of our core areas, the total cost is 2 million for FY23, $2,368,330, which is $57,813 over what it was the year before. And when we looked at all the core areas, you're going to notice that those numbers are very similar in mathematics, ELA, science, and even social studies.
Bev?
Thank you. Susan, just because I see such a big increase in the subline on this page and the previous page, how many subs before the pandemic, how many subs did you use daily? And how many subs do you use daily now on average?
So Ken, help me with that, because I know some of the substitutes are paid for through the ARP ESSER funds.
Mm-hmm.
We had probably 3 building subs at the elementary level and 6 or 8, 6 at the middle school and 8 at the high school.
Mm-hmm.
And every single one of those has been used. As a matter of fact, in the past couple weeks, we've had as many as 25 staff members daily out. But we've been able to somehow, get through all of this so that we keep our kids in school. But we've noticed, due to the pandemic, we've had many more substitutes, the need for many more substitutes, not only for certified staff, but for our paraprofessionals as well. But some of the funds for substitutes are found also in the ARP ESSER and the ESSER CARES Act funds.
That's correct. Yeah, when we wrote those up those budgets for the ESSER 2 and the ARP ESSER, we included some costs for building substitutes to alleviate some of the problems that Susan is speaking about.
But I see where the actual amount was back in FY21, $6,000.
Right.
And then for FY 23, it goes up to 55. So I
Right.
would assume that in FY 21, although I'm never going to assume, so we will check it out. But in 2021, we were receiving a huge portion from the state of Connecticut and the federal government for CARES Act. So that probably was less money because of paying for it through a grant. But Ken, will you help me look back on that just to
Yep,
make sure
definitely.
I'm being accurate?
Yep.
And my next question is, and this is probably, you might not know the answer to this question, but buying more text through computer software, has there been any studies done on how this affects the children's eyes? I mean, compared to reading a book and then reading on the computer, have you looked into stuff like that, that we're going so much into buying a lot of computer software for students to work on the computer and not hold the book in their hand?
Well, we do still have many, many books. So I would say that hasn't gone away. As a matter of fact, we've invested heavily in classroom libraries, and kids have much more choice these days in selecting their books, especially in ELA. But because, especially in a subject like social studies, it's like driving a car off the lot. As soon as it gets off, it's outdated. So because things are changing so that we find more authentic text and more accurate text sometimes, directly online. I think you have to balance it. You have to balance having the book in hand and also, having information online and how to get latest updated information.
So I hope we're balancing that, because I hate to see like 10 years later that
Right.
all this computer stuff has really affected our children. Thank you, Susan.
Absolutely.
Rita?
My question is the 15.5 high school teachers. I really would like the breakdown of what classes they're teaching, how many are in a class, because what's driving this budget is salaries. And we really need to see, in my opinion, where we could trim to not have a large increase. And if it has to be salaries, if we have some very small classes, then we need to know that. And we need to know where we need to reduce the budget so it's not a 3.2 increase. So that's why I keep driving for that information.
I understand.
Yeah.
I think
And
that,
also the amount of substitutes that are, years ago, probably when Beverly was on the board, we had 2 at the high school, 2 at like a middle school and 1 at each elementary school. And the fact that we've grown to have 8 permanent substitute teachers is almost overwhelming to me. And 6 at
A
the
lot
middle
has to
school.
do with the COVID. And we had, anytime we contact traced, people were exposed, people had to go home.
So then,
And-
then we might be able to change this next year, because I'm hoping that we're no longer going to be doing that next September. I'm praying that we won't anyway.
Right,
So,
that would be
so
really good news.
that might be a
Yep.
savings right there. We
Yep,
might need to have
that could
that
be.
many subs in a building, maybe that, 25 plus teachers won't be out on any given day.
We can only hope,
That's
right?
just not at the high school. You're saying 25 from K through 12.
No. A day per day, 25 at the high school, 25 at the middle school. We've had just enormous, these are adults, all the adults. So it could be teachers in Paris. So
So can I offer a suggestion that we understand that we don't have the breakdown for classes? Rita, we hear you on that. Let me finish, please. And that if we could sort of, maybe Susan, if you and I could kind of take a look at our budget schedule and see if we can put that back in. Let's go
Yep.
through it so that we're familiarizing ourselves with what is being offered, but then to go back to see if we can get that information about what our class size is. I know in our conversation this morning, Sue, you talked about the fact that you are trying to get that information, so it is being gathered. But I think we do need to have that information so that we can so when, to Rita's point, our largest part of the budget is our salaries, and
Right.
don't have a lot of low, I mean, you guys have already taken care of the low laying fruit, or whatever that phrase is. Sorry, I hate it when I mix my metaphors. So, but so I'm wondering if the board would allow Susan and I to kind of go through, figure out another place in the budget schedule where we can put that back in, so that with that new information, we can kind of take a look at whether we can trim anything there. Is that
Okay.
satisfactory?
That works for me.
Okay. So Ken, move us along.
Okay. Moving to page 5-10. This is function 1105, world languages for grades 6 through 12. And we have 5 teachers at the middle school, and we have 9 teachers at Fitch High School. This includes increasing the American Sign Language teacher from a 0.5 FTE to a 1.0 FTE. Let's see.
But we had said, Ken, when you go back there, that
Yep.
that 0.5 will go into the middle school
That's right.
pocket, because we're going to be doing the sign language program starting in middle school next year.
Yeah, so I'll make an adjustment, and this will show 5.5 at the middle school, 8.5
Right.
at the high school. Yes, you're right.
And one of the things I want to bring to the board's attention is Latin is one of those classes that you talk about that is so small. We have a cohort that's finishing up. We do not have a Latin component at the middle school. So we have a retirement in social studies. Our Latin teacher happens to be duly certified. So we'll be moving over to social studies. So we will be entertaining looking at that as an extra FTE consolidation. But she will probably have still a Latin class or 2 as she wraps up, so that cohort goes through entirely with her.
I'd like to speak very highly that we need Latin in our high school.
We
I'm
just don't
sorry.
have the students interested, and those classes are like 6, 7. So, you were suggesting that we really can't run classes that small.
Well, then you're going to have to really look at some of the IB classes if you're saying 6 or 7 is small for Latin. Because Latin, it was combined. It was like Latin 2 and 3, but Latin is so important for, for language. So anyway, that would be a shame if we no longer offered Latin at our high school, because we've always had Latin. It's, if you
Right,
want
we're gonna move
children
on.
to do well on SATs.
So we're going to move on.
A quick
Yeah,
question.
quickly, I'll go over the expenses. You'll notice a 10.5% increase under salaries and wages. That reflects the addition of the 0.5 ASL teacher, reduction in employee benefits and purchase services and supplies. But the whole function is up 8.2%, or 113,280.
Bev, did I hear your voice?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
Could somebody tell me the ASL teacher, is that going to be just for grade 8 students? Or?
I'm not sure if it's just grade 8 or 7 and 8. I'll have to talk to Peter Bass about that.
Thank you.
Andrea, you will have to unmute.
I did, thank you. I don't know if this is a part of the budget or not, but we had our curriculum meeting today, and I don't remember us referring to the board for the 7 and 8. I know we referred for a reconsideration of the ASL, but I don't remember, unless I'm incorrect. So Liz or Phil could maybe clarify that.
Oh, what
I
was
think
spoken
because
about?
it hasn't been determined yet. And I think if it were the first level course in 8th grade, it would be similar to what is in 9th grade. Just they would
What-
take it sooner.
Right, but I don't remember us recommending it.
I
Did
don't think I think what we were recommending, and Phil, you've got the notes,
Right,
is that we were looking at to the adaption of the ASL, to upgrade that curricula for ASL 1, but we do not believe, Phil,
that's
I
three
don't
of us. I
remember
don't
saying it
remember
was
that.
going into the middle school.
Mm-mm.
I'm not sure what you're asking exactly, but what was discussed was the high number of kids who were turned away from ASL because of
Yep.
the lack of staffing. So I know I don't know what this particular position might be initially to cover those high school kids who are trying to get into that ASL level 1 class. The discussion is, of course, to in order to build the program, you have to sort of feed from the middle school. So to eventually work that into the rotation in 6th grade, maybe a semester in 7th grade, and then a full year in 8th grade, so they can begin ASL 2 when they get to the high school.
But
What we
that's not-
discussed.
Okay,
But
so
with-
this, let's
All
stop for
right.
just a second. So what I'm hearing is that for the budget, it is for the high school only. It looks like it needs to go back to curriculum if we're going to take a look at this ever being
Very
something that's recommended, but let's stay on budget. Right now, it's for the high school.
Let me clarify that. Let me clarify that. So just so I have it straight in my mind, because that is not what I just heard. What I just
Yeah.
heard was that it was going to start in the 8th, 7th, maybe in the 7th, surely in the 8th. And if that doesn't have to do with budget, I don't know what does.
Andrea, I think what Phil and he was referring to was that the long range plan.
No, that's not what I mean. I heard it from Susan.
Okay,
Yeah. So just so I'm clear.
right. I
Okay.
hear that it needs to go back to curriculum if it's going to go into middle school.
That's right.
Now, where it stands is that this is high school that's in the budget. Is that clear? No?
Yes, as long as we're talking, I don't know what happened here. As long as we're talking about high school and not middle school, that's clear with me.
Okay. Bev?
I was under the same impression as Andrea, that because I wrote down the 0.5 is going to be at the middle school. So the additional 0.5 will be at the high school.
At this point, yes. I think it
All right.
also depends on scheduling, and we would definitely have to bring it back to the board if it were otherwise.
Okay. And how does American Sign Language benefit our students? Can you tell me that?
Well, it's really another language, and it's a language that really helps with inclusiveness for people who have a hearing loss or hearing disability. So we find that there are many students, some who are interested in medical fields, some who just, they don't want a Spanish or French, and they would rather have a sign language. So it's been very popular with the kids.
Susan, or Kim, if I could respond to that. We had our meeting, maybe I should let Liz do this. We had our meeting today and Carmita Hodge was there, as well as the teacher of the ASL. And I seem to remember that 105 children or the students at the high school were turned away because there was insufficient staffing. And that's a considerable interest, 105 students. And also, if you could hear the instructor and Ms. Hodge speak about the program and the interest that it stirs, you would know that it was a necessary element of a high school.
Jean?
Susan, when they in college, when students are applying for college, can they write down American Sign Language as a language?
Absolutely. It is
Okay.
considered one of the languages.
Okay, good.
Mhm.
I'm not opposed to the program. I'm just
Yeah.
asking the questions.
Yeah.
Dean?
Yeah, my son who's in college now took ASL purely out of curiosity. He had no intended use for it. However, some of it's rubbed off onto my daughter who is not taking ASL, but I can tell in my life, even though over the decades, the number of people who are either born deaf or go deaf or have a very great trouble hearing has decreased with the advent of more advanced medicine. There's still a good portion of the population that that really needs people to be able to communicate. And so I see the use in courtrooms and in other situations. I mean, if somebody can do American Sign Language, that's like gold for me as an employer. You know, that's somebody I
Right.
can. It'd be like them knowing a foreign language. Yeah.
So I'm going to move us on if there's no further questions about this.
All right, page 5-12. This is function 1106, culinary arts. This is for grades 9 through 12. We have 2 teachers at the high school. And cost is an increase in salaries and an increase of $40 on the travel for field trips, but it generated a 15% increase. Increase on 613 consumer science supplies of $1,800. That represents a 13.8% increase. That's a little bit more than what current inflation is, but unfortunately not a lot more than current inflation. And so for this program, we are projecting an increase of $6,121 or 4.1%.
And Ken, you're saying that this increase is largely because of inflation?
The $1,800 increase, I believe, is mostly because of inflation, because they're purchasing the same items that we're purchasing at the grocery store, albeit in a little bit more bulk, but their costs are going up just as the costs that we're seeing.
So I'm wondering, would that be important to kind of asterisk that this is not that we're adding more in, we're not adding different foods, but this is really just due to the cause of the inflation or
Yeah, I think we put that on a lot of lines, unfortunately.
Then we need to somehow be able to capture that, Ken.
Yeah.
Is that that some of the increase obviously is very much salary driven, but that's all. But that's also driven because we've had to move to minimum wage. Not
Right.
that we have had to, we should be. But that a lot of our increases, our purchase increases have hit the inflation piece as well.
Right, yeah, agreed. All right, we'll have to work on something.
Yeah, just I don't know if maybe even when we speak on the 2nd to the town council and the RTM, that becomes a big message for us, that people understand that.
Very good point.
Kim, I thought we talked about expanding this program and having more access to the kitchens. Did we have a conversation about that at a COW?
We're
Nobody's saying.
looking to have a study done in the area that the 2 foods programs are, to see if we can't get more space for the kids so that we can raise the number from 16 students, let's say, to
Right.
20 or 22.
Yes,
So we
but the
are
same amount
working
of
on
staff. Okay, but
that.
the
Yes, it's the
staff would
same
stay
amount
the
of
same.
staff. right.
Okay,
And more commercial equipment.
yes, yeah.
Okay, what's next on our list?
This
So
one,
Susan, real quick, do the
I'm sorry.
students get a certificate in this
I'm sorry.
program when they leave?
I think that is one of the career pathways we're looking at in order for them to get a certificate. but we still have some work to do as far as, you know, the actual space that they're working in and some of the equipment they're using, but it definitely is a goal. That and the nursing program has a certificate as well.
Thank you.
All right, page 5-14 is function 1107, technology education. We have 4 teachers at the middle school and 2.5 teachers at the high school. And on the 5-15 shows the costs, salaries up 3.1%, employee benefits down. We removed the field trip on this function. We have an increase in the technology education supplies of $500 and an increase in the equipment, which is the Mac Lab computer upgrade at the middle school. They're working on older computers in that Mac Lab, and so that they put in a request to have those increased. So that's an increase over a prior year budget of $29,254 or 4.6%.
I'm going to recognize Rita and then Beth.
Just Ken, across the board, it seems that employee health benefits are going down. Like there's a decrease almost in every single one we've looked at so far. Why is that?
Yeah, so the group claims we're estimating to go up 5% over this year. So I think there's an issue with the allocation, how Excel is allocating these costs. So it should be pretty flat, 5% increase. So I agree. I'm gonna have to take a further look at that. We rushed a little bit to get this all out to you before the end of before the holidays. So I didn't get to review that prior to going out. So I do apologize, and I recognize your concern.
Thank you.
Beth?
And Ken, on line 730, replacing equipment, you said you're gonna replace computers. How many are you going to replace?
I don't have that information. I have that it was the Mac Lab at GMS, but I don't have the number of computers. I'll have to get that to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Go ahead, Ken.
Right. All right, on to 5-16, which is mathematics, function 1108, grade 6 through 12. 9 teachers at the middle school, 12.5 teachers at the high school. And as far as the costs, there is a 1% increase in salaries. There's that repeat of that group insurance again, Rita, so I will look into that. Again, field trips removed, mathematics supplies down, but techs up, $8,000 additional in techs, but then a decrease in the instructional equipment. Last year we bought calculators, and so we're not doing that again this year. So for this function, it's an increase of $10,079, 0.5% increase.
And you see the whole rollout of that core area as like, if you go back to it, Ken, just so I get the number right, or actually I can look at my sheet with my glasses on. So that is 2,161,363. So like I said, ELA, math, science and social studies, you'll see for grades 6 through 12, that's about what it's costing us for our core areas.
Right. Yep.
Any other questions about the math?
No, but we must have a lot of younger teachers with only a 1% increase in salary for 21 and a half teachers. There must be a lot of younger staff members because compared to English, there's quite a difference in the salary range there. So it was just a thought.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
there would be such a big difference.
Yeah, the different mix of teachers on different steps and different levels and resignations, it always adds up to, you can't predict it. But we could look further at it to try and determine, why that's showing 1% versus others. But I think it is within the range of what we would expect.
Yeah, that's fine.
Matt?
Thank you, Ken. I found your responses to Beverly's and Rita's questions very illuminative, and understanding that I'm probably not atypical for the most of the population that's not that familiar with school district budget. Just as you have a budget narrative, just consider the possibility of underneath each of these breakouts by category, just pointing out that we're expanding, replacing whatever it is for the budget, inflation, whatever it is, just a couple of lines on each one of these pages, I think would go a long way to inoculating folks, to inoculating their worries about it. Your answers have been really helpful.
Yeah, similar to what we did. I don't know if you recall last week, we went through the object code summary with the kind of like reasons why on the right side of it. We could do something similar here.
We actually talked about taking that box that has the program description and changes to be able to then incorporate some of that information that we had in the box of, what's caused some of the changes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've heard us, you've heard everybody pretty clearly. I think it's a great idea, and thank you very much.
Okay. I will move to 5-18, which is function 1109 music for grades 6 through 12. There are 5 teachers at the middle school, 2 at the high school. And then as far as the costs, this shows actually a 0% increase under salaries and wages. And this is, we replaced our band teacher at the high school, who was a long tenured employee with one less. So I think that's what's driving that 0%. There is a decrease in travel for field trips, as well as music supplies. So overall, actually, this function is a reduction of $5,270 or 0.7% decrease.
Is any of this, the teachers at the middle school level taken care of by some of the grants?
For music in particular, or?
Yeah, because it's a STEM, it says here, including band, orchestra, chorus, general music, music theater, African drumming, guitar.
No, all the teachers are represented here for music, none on any of our grants.
But I was just wondering if any of them were supported by a grant. No,
The teachers are not in that area.
the teachers are not. Okay.
Right. I mean, through the MSAP grant, I think that's how we got our African drums
Right.
And
Right.
so we got a lot of supplies and those kind of things through the MSAP grant and specialists coming in to teach the teachers and the kids. So.
Yeah, and just to be clear, this is the last year of MSAP, so that wouldn't support it for next year,
Okay.
even if there were any in there.
Dean?
Yeah, I know that in years past, we've had larger bands. I'm talking about the marching band. I know that's not all there is to the music program at the secondary level, but we've had larger marching bands. We've had smaller marching bands. I didn't know, I'm not aware, because I no longer have a child in the program. I'm not aware if there's a plan or a program to grow the marching band. And if there is, whether this budget addresses it or whether this is just going to be put off to another year. I'm not sure whether there's going to be a drive to grow it or whether there's an attempt to just grow it organically, see who's interested and who's not.
I would say there's definitely, when you look at the investment in music across the district, starting at elementary with orchestra and band, chorus, and general music, you see that happening in all of our intra-district elementary magnets. You see it happening at the middle school, where if you are in band, orchestra, or chorus, you are in that as a core. So you're in an 84-minute block every other day. So I absolutely see the potential of growing that band. What's happened in the past is we have the director of the band, but there'll be other stipend positions that help support band camp and some of the band competitions and that kind of thing. So sometimes the middle school band or the middle school music people will help out at the high school as well for those things. So that's a hope that we grow this.
Yeah, and I think, and I understand that a growth in the budget is not necessarily corollary to a growth in the interest, a growth in participation. The two don't scale together necessarily, but
Right.
I was just curious when I see this, whether we expect to see, is that built in here, or are we planning on the same size band, or I don't even know how the band's financed, to be honest, other than the booster club. Thank you.
Bev?
Oh, no, I had the same question that Dean had, because I remember when I was on the RTN, that question came up about the middle school feeding into the high school marching band. You remember that, Superintendent Austin?
Yeah, I do. I do.
And you said you would look into that, and that was a good possibility. So,
well, and the way that we've done our scheduling at the middle school certainly supports that. And we've seen a tremendous interest in the band. We had to have 4 sections of 6th grade band when we first opened up the middle school. So, that we have a couple staff members that are really doing mostly band and maybe some general music. So we see a great number of students wanting to participate. Orchestra and chorus as well. I don't want to just do the shout out for the band.
Right.
Because a lot of kids are very interested in the choral program as well, and the orchestra.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Hearing
Susan.
nothing further, we can move on.
All right, 5-20 is function 1110, physical education for grades 6 through 12. 5 teachers at the middle school, 5.9 teachers at the high school. And then as far as the costs, 1.5% increase under salaries and wages. It looks like instructional services up by $500. Physical education supplies, it's up by 39%. It's an increase of $2,160. Overall for this function, up $19,094 or 1.6%.
And in physical education, the teachers can have as many as 36 per section, where remember the core areas, we don't like it to go over 24. So there's definitely a difference in class size and how many students they can see.
Oh, I thought it was 40.
I think it typically ranges 36.
Okay. Because I believe our preferred is 40, at least it was. I don't know.
Okay, move on.
5-22 is function 1111, science for grades 6 through 12. Middle school, 9 teachers, high school, 12 teachers. And as far as the cost, salaries and wages up 1.4%. A decrease in travel for field trips, $4,000, 49.6% decrease. Supplies decrease of 7.6%. Overall for this function, an increase over last year's budget of $16,954 or 0.8%. Oh, and as Susan will point out, there's this amount here for this is around 2.2 million, which is consistent with our core subjects.
Matt?
Would I be making the correct assumption if I noted that the reduction in field trips was an artifact of COVID, and that going in further years, once COVID is over, that we'll be doing more field trips, or am I mistaken?
That would be probably a pretty good assumption. We also have partnerships that show up in another line, like with Project O for middle school and high school, that are kind of built in, so they wouldn't show up necessarily on the field trip line. You know, they're a partnership. I think those actually go under the 300s for services. Is
Yeah.
that right, Ken?
Function 321, I should have highlighted that. Functions 321 is for Project O.
Oh, okay.
And so you'll see that there's a 1% increase. I believe Project O gave us their increase for next year. And so we're expecting the total cost to be $59,075, and that's for the grades 6 through 12.
So it's not necessarily written under field trip, but it is an experience that you go out in the field and you get on the boat, and, you know, it's a really great experience for kids.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bev?
Thank you. Ken, how does Project O calculate their cost? How do we get, what is it, 59,000? I lost where it was. How do we get that number for Project O? Do they charge us per pupil, or?
I think they know basically our student count, but it's more based upon a contract that we have with them with regard to you know, what they provide, the programming that they provide, and then and so I don't have an exact answer for you, other than they know what the program is, and they told us that the increase would be 1% over this year's cost. If we want more information, I could find out.
Okay, thank you.
Jay Englund is our science lead, so he probably could get us information, and he also sits on the Project O board.
Any other questions about science?
I have
Dean.
one more question about Project O. How many students typically participate in Project O activities?
That's a really good question. I know that in the middle school at one point, we had like whole grade levels participating, but I'd have to find out what's happening. I know Jamie Giordano has also partnered with them, and she's actually had, you know, her students in multiple grades, you know, full grade levels going to Project O, or Project O coming into the science lab classroom. So we can get more specificity on that.
Okay.
Dean?
Yeah, it's a small number. Just looking at the reduction in science supplies, and it made me think of, for example, when my mother went to school, or a lot of other people went to school, and science class was basically you sat down and the teacher lectured, and there were no experiments, nothing hands-on, like when I went to school. And so, again, is the reduction, what does that have to do with this? Are we actually reducing supplies? Are we reducing number of experiments or labs, or is it just
No reduction in labs and experiments, although sometimes there are some virtual models that they use. But I would say that we do have a DODEA STEM grant, which we have for another full year. And much of that grant has been for supplies and professional learning for our teachers. So I would say that has really hosted some of the costs for NEST and Project O at the elementary. It's provided for equipment and supplies in the science labs, you know, at all levels. So, you know, it might be really good, Kim, to kind of give everybody, you know, when we get back to normal and have a COW, you know, a little more information on some of these grants and what they do.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, if I might, so is it the case that, I mean, had the science teachers, for example, said, we'd like more supplies, we need more supplies, we need access to more, something online, but maybe you've told them to hold the line? I know this is kind of a delicate question.
No, I think that I think the grants have supported some of their needs.
So you're
So you're
giving them
not
what they
seeing it in
want.
the operation budget.
All right.
And I will say, we did provide instructions to ask that we look around and see what supplies we have that we can reuse, like beakers and these types of things, and not to just reorder these things. So I'm hoping that was taken into account when these numbers were prepared.
Liz?
I just wanted a point of clarification because about the Project O, which is a substantial amount. The amount that's listed here on 321 on page 5-23, that's just for the secondary level, correct?
Yes.
Okay, because you mentioned Jamie Giordano and that's elementary. So
Right.
I just don't want us to be, I mean, that would be in a separate budget, correct?
Those are taken care of through the grants,
All right, so
through the STEM grants.
Right, but like I said, I wanted just to clarify, this number deals just with middle school, high school.
That's right.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on.
Okay. We're on to 5-24, social studies. We have 10 teachers at the middle school, 9.5 at the high school. And as far as the costs, salaries up 3.2%. We have pupil tests of 4,216, but a reduction in techs of $1,500. Overall, an increase over last year's budget of 51,300. Looks like mostly driven from salaries and wages, 2.8% increase. And once again, this is close to the $2 million for the core subject.
Liz?
Yeah, that's a substantial increase on the pupil test. Is that driven by AP? What's driving that number?
I don't have a note on what's driving that pupil test number, but I can certainly find out.
Yeah, because we go from a FY21 at $334 and then all the way up to over $4,000. That's quite a substantial increase. That's why I'm kind of wondering.
I can tell you that it is pupil tests. It is driven from the high school. Oh, no, sorry, from the middle school.
Middle school.
Middle school.
No, sorry, high school. No, sorry. Got my program, my things messed up here. 112, high school. Yeah, sorry, high school.
It just seems to be.
Yeah,
kind of odd.
and now that I'm looking at this,
That looks really weird.
it looks like it should be under texts. That looks like a problem. Sorry, that should be texts. I think there was some sort of linking problem.
So the 4,216 are actually text.
Texts, yep.
But we'll verify. We'll
Yeah,
double
we'll
check
verify.
with the
Okay.
principal.
Any,
Thank you.
Rita?
Don't we have the pupil tests in another area in the budget? They're all grouped together, all the IB tests that we pay for?
The IB tests are.
Yeah.
I would assume AP would be too.
I thought AP students were paying for their tests now.
They are. We pay for some in some cases.
But not very many, but the IB we pay off, but I believe that someplace else in the budget, pupil tests.
Correct. That's right. Yeah. That was an error on that, and I apologize.
If there's no further questions, we're going to move on to the IB. Liz?
I'm sorry, just a quick. I heard someone say that we're having a reduction, there was going to be a retirement in the social studies department at the high school, and therefore the person who's teaching Latin, she's also cross-certified, and she'll be picking up there. Does this number include that reduction?
So we're not reducing in social studies. The position will continue in social studies. What is being reduced is what's the FTE in Latin.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Mhm.
Moving forward.
Yep, 5-24. This is IB, the middle years program. So this is for grades 6 through 10. And so we noted that in the previous years, the cost was funded by the MSAP grant for grades 6 through 8. And so now whatever cost going forward will be reflected here. So for FY23, we have quite a bit of funding for travel for workshop and conventions, $1,000 for professional materials, and $9,000 for dues, which is that's consistent with the prior year. So increase here of 19,510, an 83.6% increase. This is driven by that travel for the training for MYP, IB MYP.
And is that necessity for us to keep the middle years program?
Yes, you need to continue with the training for International Baccalaureate. Although I would have to say we did move to more remote types of learning, especially during COVID. So we can still look at balancing, travel with the online courses. They don't always offer them all that way, but the ones that we were able to take advantage of virtually, we did.
I guess I'm going to encourage people to continue to do virtual, because I understand the importance of having our teachers be professionally trained and to continue to do that. But that's a hard.
And we've aligned ourselves with the National Institute of Math and Science, National Math and Science Institute. And we had one science teacher trained in AP, and many of our AP teachers have not been retrained in years. So we've really pushed, they're actually going to be working on this, a push to really get more teachers trained. This institute, through a grant, not only pays a teacher a stipend, but it pays for all of their professional learning. And they usually give about a week in the summertime, and then they give other time throughout the year, and they get the stipend for it. And they have a network, a host of networks of other AP teachers in military districts to work with. And so the one teacher who took it just really was so delighted and just felt it was so worthwhile. So we're really encouraging more AP teachers to have this kind of professional learning experience. It's so important to keep up their skills.
So I'm going to recognize Jay. Rita, did you have a comment too? I'm going to do Jay, Rita, and Bev.
I just had a question, since we're still in the MYP candidacy period. Is that why we need all this training, or do you suspect that this will be ongoing at this level?
I don't know that it'll be ongoing at this level, but because we're still in our infancy phase and we are a candidate, we certainly, that's what is estimated that we'll need.
Great clarifying question. Thank you, Jay. Bev?
Thank you. Susan, is this classroom teacher, is that one teacher?
Ken, do you have, or is that the part-time?
So the classroom teacher, that was, we had, there were teachers that were coordinators, and the MSAP grant would cover a certain amount of their salaries. This was the amount that it didn't cover for this year and for last year. We don't anticipate that to continue into next year. That position is covered in the ESSER 2 and ARP ESSER grants.
And it's a part-time position for next year.
Now, Susan, can you help me understand how this, how this program is going to help us close the achievement gap? I'm all about closing that achievement gap. So this isn't a shock that I'm asking this
Right.
question. And I would
So
like to ask you throughout the whole budget, what in this budget is going to help us close the achievement gap?
So the middle years program for all kids from 6th grade to 10th grade, and this is my short version, I'd love to sit and go over this with the board, is for all kids. And the idea is that we need to fill the seats in those high school classrooms of AP, IB, high-powered courses, honors. And we need a much more diverse picture in all those classrooms. So by giving MYP to all of our kids, it's not an elitist program, it's for everyone. So that high level thinking, that highly engaged problem solving and experimentation that is, an element of this MYP, is really encouraging all of our learners to really gain access so that they can go into, those courses in the high school and they can be ready for whatever they want to pursue. So the short answer is it's really readiness for all kids so that they can take those courses in the future and be ready for college, career, workforce, whatever it is that they want to pursue.
One more question. So you're saying that this middle year program is for all students. So what type of support system is built in to this program to help those students that might be a little lower level that want to be challenged but might need the extra help?
So we have a complete SRBI program that gives intervention in math and ELA, and all students who need that kind of support have that support available. And this is for students who might not be having an IEP or a 504. These are for other kids in the tier, the regular core instruction, to be able to have extra support through the classroom teacher or through the specialist or interventionist. So that's kind of all woven together. But that's a short answer during a budget talk, but it's something I can absolutely come back to the board with the staff at the middle school to talk to you about. Jamal Davis has been kind of instrumental in helping us with this.
Thank you.
Rita?
I'm just a little confused. I know we had 2 coordinators, so we're no longer, those 2 coordinators are going away because the MSAC grant is ending. So that is why there are no FTEs up here, the middle year function program, 6 through 10. Is that correct? It's zeroed out in 22, 23?
Yeah, we're no longer paying for that in the operations side. There will be some part-time work that goes on, and that's paid for through the ESSER grant.
And the ESSER grant is for how long?
2024. Till
So it's for
2020.
2 years. And then you feel that then that position would go away.
We're hoping that it'll be sustainable like these other things, that it'll already be embedded.
So we wouldn't need the coordinators anymore because it's already coordinated.
Well, that's the hope.
Right, right. But the workshops, and hopefully that comes down, because that just seems like a huge increase from 2021, 22 to 32,000, $10,050 up to 32,000. It just is a
Well,
very.
remember that a couple things, there's a couple factors. We've had COVID-19 and there hasn't been much traveling at all.
Right.
And then we've also had an MSAP grant that in the beginning of this whole thing, lots of people traveled. There were a lot of teachers who really got that firsthand experience because of the MSAP grant.
Andrea?
I just wanted to follow up on what Beverly said about the importance of providing support for kids. Because I can't tell you how many Martin Luther King scholars have said, why am I the only student of color in this class? And then a short glimpse. One of the scholars was here, and on my coffee table was the knowledge gap. And he picked it up, and I saw him while people were doing speeches. I saw him reading. And after the session, he said to me, Dr. Ackerman, this is me. So that's how important it is.
Yeah.
Follow up on what Beverly said.
Thank you. You're right. And you were part of the reason we, this board chose to do MYP for all. And that was to lift us all up and make sure that we have a diverse population that mirrors our community in all of these classes.
So let's move on.
I just want to say one more thing, but don't forget, Susan, they need that help.
They
Those
do.
kids
And
need that
you need to
support.
provide the help. You're right. You're right.
And that those conversations are going to happen next time we meet, right? Are we looking at tutors and stuff next?
Yes, I think we are. Yep.
So Bev, stay tuned and really hold accountable, making sure we have the staff for that.
I think we skip over a couple of pages next.
No, we're going
Oh,
on
no.
to 5-28, which is health education.
Oh, okay.
This is function 1114, health education, grades 6 through 12. A 1.0 FTE at the middle school, 1.1 FTE at the Fitch High School. This is made up of a number of teachers, portions of their day. And as far as costs, 2.6% increase on salaries, 2.4% increase under supplies. Overall, a 2.4% increase, or $5,283 over last year's budget.
And the majority of that is the teacher salary. And it looks like it must be top step.
Rita?
Yeah, that's what I can. I was wondering about the classroom teachers. It just seems like a very high amount. And is it because of the teachers are at the top? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I would assume, knowing the teachers who teach those courses, they are top step teachers. Yep.
I believe so.
Bev?
Sorry to be a nuisance here, but we had a couple of people come and talk about the social emotional aspect of students' lives. And I was wondering, would that be incorporated in the health, or is that some other place?
It's in the health curriculum, K through 12. It's built in. There are also additional places where it is built in, like their advisory or their CTL, that we have programs that in small groups where kids are able to have some, work around everything from conflict resolution to getting along to dealing with, anxiety and stress and COVID and all those things. So I would say it's in a few places.
But I think
Definitely in the health curriculum.
But I also think it's going to be next week. It's also going to be in next week when we talk about special services and looking at the increase we've had for social services.
Right.
One of the speakers specifically talked about the fact that there was not enough individual support for her kid. So
right.
For students, excuse me, kid is colloquial.
Thank you.
So are you saying that these classroom teachers that teach health, don't they also teach physical education? So this isn't just two people up here.
No.
That's what I was getting at.
It's two FTEs.
Two FTEs.
Knowing the department and who's actually doing the teaching of health, and some of them teach, let's say, half-time health and half-time phys ed. But
Mhm.
knowing the people who are teaching the health, they are experienced teachers.
Full-time.
Mhm. Well, they're not teaching it full-time. Let's say they're doing half social PE and half health.
So they're in both budgets. They're under the PE and under the health.
Mhm.
Right.
But
Just
there
to
are
clarify,
Two
many of the
full-time
teachers,
FTEs.
yeah, they're like 80% physical education, 20% health. So we charge 80% of their salary to the physical education function and 20% to the health education function.
Okay.
That would be a nice clarification. That would be another one of those things in the box that kind of talked about those positions. Be a nice find.
Yep.
Anything else? Bev?
So I'm not understanding that. So this salary is 20% of their salary for 2 teachers?
No.
No.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I didn't think I understood it.
What we're saying is it amounts to a full-time person at Groton Middle School and a 1.1 type person, but it doesn't mean that a full-time person is teaching. It might be 2 people who are doing half and half. So we're going to bring you more details on actually what's happening. At one point, Groton Middle School was going to have one person do only health, and very experienced person. But because they needed this teacher also to do some specific things in PE, other people took on some of her health FTE to support that.
Okay. Okay.
But we can get you more details.
Yeah, because I'm still lost, Susan. on that.
It is confusing. It's hard to keep up with, I'm telling you.
Well, I think this is the whole purpose of the workshops, right? Is
Yeah,
to ask
yeah.
those questions and get the information so that
Mhm.
we can understand it, so that when it becomes our budget, we can speak to the budget.
Right, exactly.
So none of these questions have been phenomenal, actually, because I think it really helps spur on conversation and also helps us think about this as what is our story. And I'm also very appreciative, Bev. I don't find your questions to be pain. I think that your questions are incredibly spot on and also helps us understand someone who's both been a board member in the past, but currently, just recently was an RTM member. It's nice to have your voice on this because what a lot of the RTM members might be wanting to ask, and that prepares us to understand where other people might be coming from. So I'm finding these conversations great. So if it takes us a while to get through it, it takes us for a while to get through it. We'll just meet up more often. I say with a smile.
All right, I will go on to 5-30, I believe. Yep. And this is function 1115, magnet school support for K through 5. So we had this, we were using this when there was only 2 magnet elementary schools. Starting this year, we have 5 magnet elementary schools. So we're actually, those costs are embedded within each of the school site budgets. So there actually is $0 allocated to this. The only reason that it's on this in this book is that there was some costs that came through last year that I needed in order to balance. So let me see, I can take that down. I don't know if you want to talk about that one at all.
I think it
So we
just helps us to
understand
keep
this is
track.
these are going toward, it's being captured in individual site budgets.
That's right.
Right.
Okay.
I think it was it $30,000?
30,000. Yeah.
Schools, and now it's
15,000
30.
per school.
So now it's 30,000 split between 5 schools, and it was put in their site budget.
Correct.
All right, we'll move on.
Yep. 5-32. This is IB, the DP program. This is for grades 11 and 12. Let's see that the costs increase of $6,000 on instructional improvement services. That's That's for the training for the teachers. A decrease in workshops and conventions of $1,000. Overall decrease in supplies, tests, texts. So there's a $12,000 decrease in supplies, 35% decrease. A decrease in instructional equipment of $6,000, but an increase in dues that we pay to IB of $2,000. Overall, a decrease of $10,750 over, or 16% over last year, this year's budget.
I have a question. Why are there no teachers listed here, any FTEs?
So we made a decision, what was it, 2 years ago, where the teachers are all being charged to their subject categories and not being identified in the IB category. It was difficult to understand what it was. It comes back to that that 20 and 80% of an FTE thing. So we were getting ourselves all confused under that. So we removed that. I believe it was not last year, but the year before.
Yep. I do remember
Teachers
that.
that do teach IB classes, yes.
Right. So when we get the breakdown of what classes and what teachers are teaching, we'll be able to see that captured. Right? What courses are being taught at the high school, which are the the IB, which are the AP, which teachers are doing what, we'll have that breakdown then. Thank you.
Any other questions? Bev?
Susan, how many students in that IB program?
So there's the IB diploma program, the IB careers, and then there are many kids who take kind of a variety. They might take a UConn course, they might take an IB course, they might take an AP course. So I'd have to get that from Ted to get the actual numbers. I know that we were seeing a trend up on kids who are graduating with a diploma. So I just have to find out what the current number is now and how many are actually involved in the program in total.
Because the IB diploma program's only for the 11th and 12th graders, I take it.
Right.
Okay.
But the
Alright.
IB careers is similar to that, where you get a certificate and you explore one of the career pathways as well. So you might get a certification in nursing and you could get an IB certificate for careers pathways. So I just need to have Ted give us that information, or I'll pull it from our student data manager.
But this function here is only for the International Baccalaureate DP.
Right.
Right.
But I'm saying you can take DP courses without.
Well, we
being in
know
the
that,
full
but
diploma
I'm just
program.
saying this function is just for the DP program. That's what these expenses are, right here, for the number, how many students there are that take, that are in the diploma program.
Any other questions?
Yes, if I might.
Yep.
Have we been doing this long enough that we can do some polling of our graduates 2, 3, 4 years after they've left Fitch to get some testimonies on what they feel in retrospect really was most helpful, where we could improve, stuff like that? Can we do any user testing? And I know that's not a budget item, but it's just throwing it out.
So Matthew, if you could keep that note, because that's actually not a really bad idea, is to do some surveying around that. And I know, Susan, you have talked about, other times about, finding out from other alumni of the program, of actually graduates of Fitch, what they have found helpful. So that's important, but I want to kind of stay true to the budget tonight.
Gotcha.
Jay.
Yeah, and I think I mean, since we've already invested so much time in it, I think it's important to know that we have invited them back. We've actually recorded them, and we do have recorded testimonials. I think that's something that, I hope we can share with students to encourage them to take these higher level courses. I think people think that they are not up to it. And I know that one of the groups at the high school is also encouraging a more diverse group of students to reach for these higher level courses.
I also think that we as a board throughout the years have gotten much more versed in how to talk about the IB program. And it's not just the diploma program, but that it's a form of learning. And that's why we're going through the MYP and maybe possibly YPP, but I think that that's down the road for us. But we're going to move us on to the next.
The next stuff on 5-34, this is function 1118, IB career-related program. This is a new program for starting this year, I believe. Yep. And the costs on that, a reduction in texts of $3,500, in dues down $1,050. Overall, a reduction from this year's budget of 25.7%.
And Susan, is that because the grant?
No, I don't think that was grant related. I just
Okay.
think that was efficiency.
All right.
Yeah, I have a question about the dues for administration, around 10,000. And then if you look the page before, the IB 11 and 12, the dues is about 12,000. So that's $22,000 in dues for school administration, which is separate from dues and fees. I was just a little confused.
It's the cost that we pay in order to be in the IB program for either the DP or the career related program.
And that's every year.
Yeah.
We pay those.
Yeah.
Ev, sorry, missed you for a second.
Beverly, you're on mute. Did you want to say something?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I actually was going to say the same thing as Rita.
Okay.
But I'm talking
It's a
to
tag
myself
team.
here. But what do we get for the cost of being in the IB program? That it's costing us for the two programs about $22,000, and I didn't even count the dues and fees. So what exactly are we? What are we getting for our money?
So I would say it's a program that has continuous oversight on how our kids are doing. And they actually have to look at tests, and the tests are written responses. So there's a lot of assessment on how the children are doing over time. And that's, and a lot of collaboration with the teachers in the program. So I would say that it's kind of making sure that we're authorized as a program in International Baccalaureate. When a student has a diploma, one of the things that we found is that they tend to get into their top school, and that program holds a lot of weight in the college admission program. So, I think it's, I know I've heard this from the students who participated, and every year in the spring, they do a testimonial. So I will definitely invite board members to join us at that final breakfast or that final meeting, because it's really critical to see kind of the community service projects they're involved in and all the things that they've accomplished. And I just want to see it grow. We actually, Ken, did we end up with 3 students from out of district who came to Fitch because of IB this year that paid per pupil?
I think it was just 2.
2. Okay.
Jay?
So our dues paid just for the oversight of the program. I'm not really questioning the value of the program and what the students get,
Yeah.
but I'm just asking, what do we get for paying our dues? Do we get workshops for free? Do we get, do they look at tests that the students take? What exactly, other than just saying, okay, we paid our dues and now we're in that program, do they do anything for us?
Yes, they do. But I want to tell you that I do know about the assessment piece, that they have oversight to the assessment and kind of the verification. They do verification visits. So they come to the schools, kind of like a NEASC would do for the high school. But to give you really more solid information, I think this is something that could come back to a COW and have some of the experts in the program really talk to you more about this. So if we could put that on an agenda item.
Susan, your
Jay?
agenda is going to be full.
I know, I've got a full agenda for sure. I'm writing them all down too.
What do you
So I don't
mean
forget.
Susan's agenda, Bev? This is ours. This is our agenda. This is for our learning. This is not
Yeah.
Susan's agenda.
Yeah.
This is our agenda. Jay?
Yeah, and I also wanted to point out, when all of us decry the value of like a standardized test, these folks are actually reading the answers and evaluating the writing, which is a lot more intensive than putting it through a computer and reading a doc that was filled in by a pencil. So it's a totally different way of evaluating students. And I might add several students that I know who have gotten full scholarships at college because they have the IB diploma. And of course, that's open to anybody who wants to pursue it.
Mhm.
Kim? Kim?
We've
We
lost
lost
Kim, but I
Kim.
see you.
Kim, are you there? Oh.
She's logged out. I think she froze. So
Oh, this was really important for her to hear, but pardon me. I think the saturation point is nearing. Like, it's like all, what's the word I'm looking for? It's getting to be non-productive for me anyway. So just so you know.
I agree.
I have three more functions that I'd love to get through because that would get us through that first secondary instruction, but I understand if the board wants to.
How fast can you talk?
I can't talk too fast, but
Can we get it done in 10 minutes? By 9 o'clock?
You know what? This is what I propose, that I go through those three functions, just one after the other, and then.
Yeah.
How's that?
And then, yeah, hold on to your questions.
Yeah, because I really had a question about that next one coming up, the unclassified.
Yeah, unclassified. So function. Do you want me to go on or no? I'm not sure if it's clear if.
Well, Kim is.
I really think if you're going to rush through it, I would prefer that you don't go on, because this is regular and special education, and I don't like to rush through stuff, but that's my opinion. I'm only one person.
Well, I'm just putting it out there. If everybody else is up for it, let's go for it. It's just beginning, to me, it's saturation point.
So what are the three?
I support
Kate,
Beverly.
just
I'd
tell us
support
what the
that.
topics are.
So the three functions are unclassified for grades 6 through 12. That's costs that don't fall into any of the other function codes.
So they would be like what?
So there's a lot of substitute teachers. There's costs such as the contractual severance payments for retiring teachers. There's supplies for the secondary school that aren't necessarily tied to a particular program.
Is this like a miscellaneous section?
Yeah, it's a
really?
big miscellaneous bucket, unfortunately.
Okay.
And then
And then
there's
what were the
business
other two?
education and health occupations.
Well, since Kim is not with us, Andrea,
She's
you
coming. She's here.
Oh, now you're back, Kim. We're talking about leaving. I mean, ending the meeting and we were wondering if you were coming back and what your 2 cents is. You kind of
Well,
missed
I was
some of the
sorry.
comment.
I left, I just all of a sudden you guys like disappeared. And almost like a swirl. Where are we in the process right now?
We have 3
Now.
more functions to go,
What did I
but
miss?
people were feeling a little swamped.
So why don't we
Full.
add those? So let's wrap up. Let's just kind of move them back down. But I want to make sure that I understand what we've asked Susan and the staff members to do. There's some corrections that Ken needs to get back to us on. And my question to the board is, do we want them now? Do we want those, like, not like this second, but do we want them before we go into Monday's meeting? So that we can then also talk about that. And second, to understand, thank you, Kat. The other piece is, I think we're going to have to, Susan and I are going to have to find possibly another time where we can then have a further discussion about all the things we're asked about secondary, which is class sizes, where people are being delineated, is what I have. And I'm hoping that we can also make sure that the agenda items that were talked about for future board meetings have gotten captured. I didn't capture them. So I would make sure that we could then add them, sprinkle them into conversations as we go post budget. Does that sound like that's reasonable? 1, Ken bringing back the corrections to us so that we can have them. 2, finding another time where we can kind of take a look at secondary and team staffing wise. I consolidated those conversations. I know they're more in depth. Is that okay?
Can I put my 2 cents in?
Please,
I'd
Beth.
like to see the class sizes and teams sooner than later, and the conversation could happen later, but I like to see the data sooner.
Okay, Bev. I'm not quite sure where that's a good point. I think that would be true for everyone. And I'm just not quite sure where Susan and her staff are in putting it together, but maybe she can indicate to us in the board notes about where she is and when we could anticipate doing that. And I will make sure that gets back onto a budget workshop agenda, but it won't be until after we have a chance to individually kind of glance at that. Does that sound fair?
It's a process, just that I have to get the student data manager to pull the data. We've started to pull some of it in some of the core areas at the high school, but we haven't addressed all of the high school courses and all of the middle school courses yet. So I could either do piecemeal or I could do it all together.
And Matthew, isn't that part of his correction that Ken is going to be doing? A footnote starting cost and source would be helpful.
Yeah, I would just pass that one on as a suggestion to incorporate in the footnotes.
Okay, so are you seeing that for this current budget season or for us to be moving forward on that?
I think if I were an RTM member or a town councillor, I would immediately ask under blah, 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 business education, you've got teachers and you've got no salaries. Please explain it to me. I mean, if they're going to ask the question, we should just put it in the footnote and avoid having to deal with the question. But I've been wrong before.
So maybe we can kind of think about that. I'm not quite sure where I land on that.
Okay.
Liz?
Susan, when do students register for next year's courses at the high school?
Spring.
So those
usually,
numbers, but we won't have those numbers right away. So to make those decisions based on the numbers we currently have may give us an idea, but it's not going to give us the solid data.
yeah,
that
you're
we
not
really need.
gonna have next year's classes. The only thing I could look
Right.
at are this year's classes and kind of
Project.
but Yeah, but I don't know.
Well, I just
how
wanted to,
accurate
I
that is.
didn't think that we had done, that the high school had registered yet for next semester, I mean, for next year. And that's
Right.
the part we're talking about. So,
And the
I
same
mean-
thing is true about the middle school.
right, so
Exactly.
I'm concerned that we're going to make decisions based on data that is from this year that's not going to be relevant for next year.
That's a
And-
good point, Liz.
I mean, as much as I think that's important, I do believe that is important. You know, we have to go with, we need to consider that. Thank you.
Dean?
On the other hand, we are preparing a budget, we're working over a budget for staffing the 22-23 school year. So somewhere in there, we should be thinking about at least an estimate of where the kids will be next year. I realize it's variable. It's not completely variable. I think in most cases, kids are going to go from one course to another because it's part of their natural progression. Things get wild when they choose electives. I understand when you get to high school. So sometimes it's it's a joker. But I'd like to think, even though I haven't worked this whole thing myself, I'd like to think that some reasonable prediction with some caveats to us is doable. So in other words, it just can't be the case that we're planning on staffing 22-23, but we cannot entertain any notions at all about who's going to be in what classes. There's
Right.
got to be something.
And quite frankly, people are going to be asking those questions from us. So we might as well have that information, because after February 28th, we're defending our budget. So it makes sense for us to have some of that information and have a ground for us to walk on. Beverly?
Yes, I was gonna say the same thing, actually, because the whole thing is a projection. The budget is a projection, how much you're going to need. You don't know exactly how much you're gonna spend on oil, but you're projecting it based on last year. We spent this much, so we're probably gonna spend this much. So the whole thing is a projection. So
Right.
give me the numbers for the high school and the middle school.
Right.
I can I can certainly do the numbers that we have currently.
Yeah, I think that's
And we
that's
can
what we're
also
asking.
make the projection about what we think is possible for next year.
Yep.
Can I just add? I wasn't trying to undermine that. What I was trying to say is I just wanted to make everybody aware that people were not going to have the solid numbers, but we had
Right.
projections. That's all my point was. That was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Kat?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn till January 31st at 6 p.m.
Is that our next, well, I would prefer January 25th,
Next Monday, we're going to be meeting.
next Monday.
All right, I don't have that on my list. So I'd like to make a motion to adjourn to January 25th at 6 p.m.
Second.
I think it's the 24th.
Yeah, 24th, 24th.
I think the
Thank you.
25th is on a
Let's just
Tuesday.
adjourn the meeting.
Yes.
Yeah, I make a motion to adjourn.
Good night, Gracie.
So moved.
All right,
Have a great week, everybody.
bye.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Bye.
Yeah, and I wish I had your courage.